What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. We have another week of predictions for college football. We have updated the screen. We have more festivities to come, but it's not quite Christmas time just yet, but it is starting to snow in a lot of places. So we're going to add some snow. It's going to be cool. It's going to have nice, cool blues. But anyway, we're going to move on to the games this week. We have an early one, Thursday, 7:30 p.m., Louisville against Virginia. This is probably going to be a blowout. I have Louisville scoring 40-plus points. Virginia is not a good team. Louisville is just coasting away to the final end of the season so they can play Florida State in the ACC championship game. The next game, we have Michigan, Penn State. This is probably the biggest game of the week. We have Michigan, number 3. Well, the rankings are to come. Penn State sitting at 11. They did win last week, so they might move up. They might move down after Oklahoma's loss. They might move up into the top 10 again. But I have this really close. I have winning by a field goal. Penn State still has one of the best defenses in the league. And Michigan hasn't proven anything. They've only played against subpar opponents. They've been blowing a lot of them out. But I think Penn State can hold their own. They held Ohio State to only 10 points in the first half. So I think Penn State, if they could get their offense going, because when their offense is going, it's going. But when it's not going, it's a standstill. But I think that Penn State could have a chance to upset them. But I do think Michigan is the better team overall. And I think this is the chance for Michigan to prove to the committee that they can beat top-tier talent. But on the off chance that Penn State does win, we're going to have a very interesting situation near the end of the season. If all Ohio State loses to Michigan at the end, there'll be a three-way tie. Who has the more powerful, better schedule, who has the more points or whatever. It's going to be cool. It'll be very interesting to see what the committee does. Next new game we have here, Alabama is going to win this game outright. They're going to win by... They're going to cover this minus 11. I think Kentucky's going to score a couple late ones just to get that score up there. But Alabama's going to be in a commanding position most of the game. Their quarterback is shown to be very elite compared to the beginning of the season where he was struggling. He didn't even start against South Florida. So I think Alabama has come a long way this year, and they're showing the world, the nation, that they are a championship football team. I think they're going to lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game, but I do think they're going to have a great year next year, but they are going to win this game outright, no problem. The next noon game we have is Kansas versus Texas Tech. Another week with the analytics shitting on Kansas and their ability. Last week they had Kansas losing to Iowa State by a field goal. That I said in my last pick and prediction video that was an easy money to pretty much double your money on that one. Kansas is going to win by 23 points here. Kansas is going to score 30 plus. Texas Tech hasn't been good in years, and I don't think they're not very good this year. The next noon game we have Tulane and Tulsa. Tulane 30-10. It's going to be easy. I know Tulane had a hard time over the weekend. It was a really close game, but Tulsa isn't good. They're like 1-4 in the American right now. They have barely scored 10 points in most of their games. So I think Tulane's going to cover this easily. It's going to be 30-10. I don't think it's going to be very close. And Tulane's going to continue to try to hold that rank. The next afternoon game we have is Arizona, Colorado. I know Arizona isn't technically ranked in anything other than the new AP poll, but I put Arizona in here because there's a couple teams in here that I think are going to be ranked by the playoff committee, so I want to talk about them a little bit. Not too much detail or gritty-ditty about it. I think Arizona is going to be one of those 3-loss teams that will be ranked. They won 3 ranked opponents 3 weeks in a row. They went toe-to-toe with USC. They went toe-to-toe with Washington. So I think they're going to get ranked probably like 23, maybe 24 in the new college football playoff rankings. And I have them dominating against Colorado. Colorado is on the verge of not even going to a bowl game. With all the hype at the beginning of the season, I was on the hype train, Coach Prime. They were going really well at the first couple games, and then they just started losing and losing. They realized they didn't have a defense. Their offense was barely functional. If it works, it works, but most times it wasn't working. So it's just the quarterback just can't get the ball off. The offensive line is terrible. It's a terrible time to be at Colorado right now, but it's a bright future ahead for sure. But they're not going. I think they're going to go 6-6 this year. They might win one more game to get that 6th win, but they're not going to be getting it against Arizona. And yeah, it's going to be 40-17 easy. Arizona has proven that they are better than what they were at the beginning of the season against Mississippi State. 3 o'clock game, we have Kansas State versus Baylor. Baylor is terrible. They've been terrible for years. Kansas State's going to win this 35-3. They're going to easily cover that minus 20.5. I don't think Baylor's even. I would put money that Baylor wouldn't even score any points. It's Division I football, so generally they can get a field goal, maybe some garbage time points like a 7. But I don't think they're going to cover. I don't think they're going to make it anywhere close to what Kansas State is putting out, especially Kansas State against teams that aren't very good this year. They've been blowing them out 40-10. 40-something to 3. It's really bad for the opponents when you're getting 40-plus points on you. Next mid-afternoon game, we have Miami and Florida State. You know, at the beginning of the season, near the beginning of the season, I was looking at this game going, Miami could be ranked at this point. They could be undefeated, and it'll be a really big matchup for Florida State to get that under their belt. But a lot of those teams like Duke, Miami, and North Carolina have fallen off the map when it came to, because they keep beating each other up, and they lose to like Georgia Tech or something, and they're just not very good consistently. Like, they are good, but they're not consistently good. So I have Florida State winning this 28-13. I have them covering the 14.5, but I could see Florida State scoring more points on them. But I didn't want to put too many points on this because Florida State, in some of their games, I'm not going to always reference the Boston College game, but they do let teams come back. And it's not a good look for Florida State, and which is why I think the committee put them at 4 this week instead of like 2 or 3. Technically have more ranked wins than Georgia and Michigan, but they just keep getting too many close games, kind of like Washington against ASU. Next afternoon game, we have Washington, Utah. So I think Washington and Utah is going to be a very close game, and I think Utah can take this from Washington. Washington has been playing poorly since Oregon, and I think Utah has a chance to take Washington from that undefeated spot and try to like still compete for that Pac-12 championship that they want to be a part of again, just like how they upset USC last year. So I think it's going to be a very close game. Washington's been doing very close games lately, and I think it's going to be a field goal game, 45-42, and Washington's going to get their first loss this week. Big upset this week for that one. Next afternoon game, we have Missouri, Tennessee. Missouri's going to go down in the ranks just because they had that loss against Georgia, but it was a really good game overall. They only lost by like 9 points, and I think they're going to go down a little bit, but not too much. They are better than some of the 2-loss teams in the rankings, so I will say Missouri will still be ranked. They're not going to get kicked out or anything because there are going to be 3-loss teams that are going to be ranked. So I think this is going to be a close one. Tennessee's at that minus 1.5. This is pretty much a pick'em type game. It's pretty much flip a coin for it and kind of thing. I have Missouri coming out on top against Tennessee, giving Tennessee that third loss that they have, because I don't think Tennessee's good, but I don't think they're consistently good. And yeah, they trounced. I think Missouri's going to try to come back with some vengeance against the next SEC opponent, just to really climb up the ladder when it comes to what bowl game they're going to get, because they want to have a good bowl game, because they don't have a chance to make the SEC championship game. They don't have a chance to make the title for the playoffs, but I do think they're going to try to compete for that good bowl game. So I'm going to have them winning 31-28 in this one at home. Next game is a little weird because Oklahoma State, according to ESPN, is a -2 against UCF, and I was kind of confused on that. So I looked into UCF's their history and like their stuff, and I just can't see it. So I have Oklahoma State winning this 45-24, easy, no problem. I think Oklahoma State has shown that they could dominate teams, and this score is very similar to the Kansas State score that they had up with UCF. So, and that was at UCF too. So I gave UCF a couple more points, but I still think Oklahoma State's going to dominate. They coming off that win against Oklahoma. They're gonna dominate this game. They're going to coast this game. Hopefully they can go out really big in the first half and maybe even take out their starters for the second half, because I don't think UCF is going to score 24 points. I think that 7 points are going to come from garbage time. It's going to be like 45 to maybe 17, and it's not going to be a very good game to watch. The next evening game we have here is Oregon State versus Stanford, and I have Stanford losing not too bad to Oregon State. Stanford did try to keep up with Washington, so I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt this week and say that they're going to score some points. But I do have Oregon State winning because they are a better team, and Oregon State's kind of just coasting throughout the rest of the season. They have 2 big games coming up against Oregon and Washington, so they're going to try to rest their starters for the most part and not go too hard. So that's why I have them at 28 against 17 against Stanford. The primetime game, we have Georgia, Ole Miss. This is the next big one. Similarly to the Michigan, Penn State game, about the same, but when it comes to rankings, like top 10 and then undefeated as well. And I have Georgia dominating this game, 35-17. I don't even think it's going to be close. Georgia's coming out with vengeance, and I think Georgia's going to win the SEC this year, just like they won the last 2 years. And I don't think Ole Miss is going to have a chance. Rewatching some of the film from the Ole Miss only loss against Alabama, there are still some of those same mistakes happening. And if they can't compete against Alabama, I don't think they're going to be able to compete against Georgia for the most part. And it's in Georgia. I gave Missouri benefit of the doubt, but Ole Miss is just not going to be able to do it. And so I have Georgia winning this outright, 35-17. Next 7 o'clock game, we have Oklahoma coming off that loss against Oklahoma State, and they're going to be against West Virginia. And yeah, this is not going to be a fun game to watch. I have 24-10. I was thinking about giving West Virginia the chance to upset Oklahoma, but I don't think Oklahoma's going to lose 2 in a row. No, 3 in a row. I don't think Oklahoma's going to try to lose 3 in a row. So I think they're going to come back. They're going to score some points, maybe even score more than 24. They could get up to like 30-ish, maybe 40, but it's not going to be a very close game. So I have Oklahoma trying to bounce back from the losses that they've been accumulating. Next big game we have is Ohio State versus Michigan State. There's not much to say about this game. I could have put an infinity logo there at the bottom. Ohio State's going to trounce Michigan State. This is practically a bye week. And that minus 31 probably is going to get covered easily. I gave Michigan State 3 points just because they are a Big Ten school. They're not going to get blown out. But I can definitely see them not scoring any points, really. Maybe even maybe garbage time, they'll have like a field goal or something just to prevent that blowout. But Ohio State's going to win this outright. Next game, which had potential, TCU coming off that huge, awesome season last year to get into the playoffs, but they're not even ranked. And this could have been a good game for Texas, but right now I don't see it. It's going to be 42-10 for me. TCU has consistently this year not performed to the expectation, and Texas, that minus 9.5, I think Texas is going to cover that easily. And Texas is going to dominate and try to rest up for the next coming weeks. 7:30 game, we have LSU versus Florida, and I have LSU dominating. This primetime games, there's only so many of them that are pretty good. Most of them are going to be blowouts like this one. LSU is going to win 42-21. LSU is a really good team. I know they just came off that loss, but they're not going to sit down and take it. So they're going to dominate against Florida just to bring it back, get their fans back into it. And it's not going to be a very interesting game. Still have UCLA on here just because they're technically were ranked last week, and I'm not sure if they're going to be kicked off the playoff rankings just because now they have 3 losses and there's going to be a couple 3-loss teams in the playoff rankings. But I put them on there just to keep them on there for it. And I know there's one of my viewers loves the UCLA, so I like talking about them. I think UCLA is going to dominate ASU. ASU is not very good. That's a high school team out there. UCLA is going to bounce back from the loss they just received. So super easy, not much a walk in the park, especially at home. Late night rank on rank matchup. I don't think USC is going to be ranked coming up, but right now they are technically ranked in some polls. So I have Oregon winning by 3. I know Oregon is a significantly better team, but USC has a very explosive offense. They might not have any defense, but they do have a very explosive offense, and they just fired their defensive coordinator. So I think that they're going to try their best. They've been competing with almost everyone at this level to almost one-score games. So I do think they're going to win by a field goal. It's going to be a one-score game. But Oregon's ultimately going to come out on top just because Oregon is significantly better. And I think Oregon is going to be the Pac-12 team to go to the playoffs, or with that one loss they have to Washington, because they were the better team. And then another 8 o'clock game. I know it's out of order slightly, but I put North Carolina in this just because North Carolina is ranked in the AP poll. So there's a chance they could be ranked in the college playoffs. North Carolina, welcome back to the rankings. But I don't think North Carolina is a very good team. I don't think they're going to be in the top 25. I don't think they're going to deserve the top 25 just the way they've been playing, but I do think they're going to beat Duke. Duke was ranked earlier this season. I think they're going to win by like a touchdown, and it's going to keep it close. It's going to be a close game. It's probably going to be a grind, probably be a low scoring for most of the game, and these points are going to accumulate very slowly throughout the game. And North Carolina is going to ultimately win by 1 score, 1 touchdown, maybe a field goal. A little bonus content. We always put Iowa here. If they're ranked, they get more shuffled in, but if they're not, they're always in the back for the believers. It's a minus 1.5. That's for sure. It's. I don't think it's gonna be a pick 'em. I do have Iowa winning. Rutgers has been performing really well this year. They did really well against Ohio State last week, but they're against Iowa defense in Iowa City. I think Iowa's gonna win by like 5 points. I think Iowa's gonna win but it's not going to be by much. Iowa generally scores like 1 touchdown a game, maybe at best, and then Rutgers is only going to score 1 score. It's going to be very similar to that the Minnesota game, or even last week against Northwestern, where there was like no points. I don't think they're even going to get close to the 28. It's going to be just like last 3 weeks where they couldn't even get up to 30 points, the over-under there. That's going to be it for this video. Please like and subscribe if you like this type of content. If you want me to expand more on more content within the realm of sports or even outside the realm of sports, I'm willing to talk about a lot of things and really go in depth on certain things. But just let me know in the comments what you think about these picks and predictions and how you feel about it. Peace.